Welcome back to another episode of Lost Codex Legends. My name is Jesse. Today, we are doing something a little bit different where we're not talking about a major lore character or anyone who's recently appeared in a cinematic or anything like that. No, we're talking about one festive-related character who's quite prominent in the Winter Veil celebration. In fact, he is the face of the Winter Veil celebration, and that is Greatfather Winter himself. Now, you might be wondering, why is Greatfather Winter both a dwarf and an orc and a Tauren sliding down a mountain in High Mountain? All of those answers will hopefully be answered today. Maybe not. It's a mystery. He's a mystery, but we're going to learn about it. So with this, with the fireplace over here, I almost pointed the wrong direction. Get your cocoa, get your cider, or your cold water, whatever you want to drink. Your snacks, your hat, and let's talk about Greatfather Winter himself. Here we go. Now, it was originally the dwarves who started celebrating the season of Winter Veil in recognition of Greatfather Winter himself. According to the dwarves, Greatfather Winter is a personification of the Titans, and I will point out that this is some older lore. This lore actually comes from the original, I believe it's the Winter Veil book, probably launched in the beginning of WoW or BC. And the phrasing says the personification of the Titans. Now, we know back then that Blizzard's world building wasn't fully complete, and so a lot of the things that were built by the Titans back in the day, we know from Chronicle to be built by the Titan Keepers. So, what if he's not a personification of the Titans themselves? He's not Khaz'goroth, he's not Amenethul or anyone else up there. What if he's one of the Titan Keepers, specifically one revolving around, I don't know, cold winds and snow? I'm talking about Hodir from up in Ulduar, and it's quite possible that Hodir is the original inspiration on Azeroth for the spirit of Greatfather Winter. Early Earthen may have met Hodir back in the day, before the Winterscorn War, and maybe that's where the idea of this great big bearded snowy guy came from. In Ulduar, Hodir references the Veil of Winter, which, okay, it's not exactly the most foolproof answer, but it's kind of interesting to think that maybe the ancient Earthen once upon a time met Hodir, and through lost records the dwarves kind of evolved this ancient Titanforge legend into something a little bit more different. Now, according to the legend of Greatfather Winter, in the late seasons of the year, after the harvest bounty has been collected and everyone's celebrated, Greatfather Winter would walk the land, and in his wake would be this giant cloak of winter. He would literally just, as he walks, winter would spread behind him. And as snow covered the landscape and as the temperatures dropped, the Greatfather himself would cast his Veil of Winter over the land, and this is where the idea of the seasonal aspect, and especially specifically at the end of the year in the wintertime, where Winter Veil and Greatfather Winter came from. In the legend of Greatfather Winter, it was said that he would bestow upon anyone who welcomed his presence in this time of year, a bounty. And this is where the celebration, this is where the tradition of feasting and merry festival came from. Communities would get together, bring all the food they had together in this big, huge celebration, a big tribute to Greatfather Winter. And it was said in the original legend that Greatfather Winter would bestow upon them a tribute. This tribute could be what led to the original gift giving in the actual holiday of Winter Veil, or that could have been total commercialization, which we'll talk about later. The dwarves themselves actually see Dun Morrow, the mountain region outside of Ironforge, as a blessing from Greatfather Winter himself. That's why they have perpetual winter there. It's a permanent blessing from the Greatfather himself. We can assume that in Azeroth there are seasons. I'm willing to bet that it snows in Eloin Forest. I'm willing to bet Stormwind probably has snowplows. I would love a weather system, Blizzard please. But, and obviously like places like the Searing Gorge, right? The snow wouldn't happen there, but places like Dun Morrow probably wouldn't actually have their snow gone because, as it said, it's a blessing from the Greatfather himself. Now, although it was originally the dwarves who celebrated the Feast of Winter Veil and the celebration of Greatfather Winter, Other kingdoms and other members of the Alliance began to celebrate as well. It was Myrddin Bronzebeard, as the ambassador to Lordaeron, who introduced it to the humans. He brought it to the different human kingdoms, and although at first it wasn't too popular, over time the humans kind of thought Wintervale was awesome and picked it up as their own holiday. The royal family in Lordaeron even hosted a Winter Eve ball by the time Arthas Menethil was in his adulthood, many years after the Second War, courtesy to Queen Ashura for this fact over on her blog. Link is in the description below. Now, although mainly the Alliance celebrates the Feast of Wintervale because of the dwarves, the Horde really doesn't have that much of an investment, at least historically, in this holiday. However, the Tauren, while they don't really have any sort of dedication or reverence for the concept of Greatfather Winter, they do celebrate the winter season, the Feast of Wintervale, for another reason. Due to their shamanistic understanding of the world, as well as their history with druidic magic, the Tauren focus almost entirely on the renewal aspect of winter. A long year has passed, the final cold season has come, this is the final challenge, and this is the season for them to reflect on new beginnings, on everything that's happened, and all the new beginnings that are going to be coming in the springtime. This is the time that they actually give thanks to things that they are grateful for, specifically or most notably the Tauren's new home. Again, this is older lore of Mulgore, a recent development at the time when all the Tauren tribes founded this new region. To the Tauren, the celebration of Wintervale is a just celebrating the season itself and the coming spring and the promise of renewal, while the dwarves see it as a more historical celebration of this mythological figure known as Greatfather Winter. Now, as more races begin to celebrate and honor the Feast of Wintervale, traditions, new and old, sort of begin to get mismatched, and things kind of get muddled, cultures mixing, different traditions kind of getting jammed together, and some places just see the Feast of Wintervale as a time to celebrate, as a time to drink and be merry, get together with friends. Has nothing to do with the mythological figure of Greatfather Winter, nothing to do with Mulgore and the promise of renewal and Tauren worship. It's just a good time to celebrate, and of course, with any good time to celebrate comes the commercial exploits of the goblins, specifically the Smokeywood Pasture goblins. The Smokeywood Pastures is a goblin company made up of two different goblin families, the Copperpinch family and the Jingle Pocket family. The Copperpinch sell primarily to the Horde, the Jingle Pocket sell primarily to the Alliance, or at least in Alliance and Horde regions, but they are all neutral, so they will sell if you manage to, for some reason, as an Alliance, get to a Horde city. You can still talk to those goblins, and they're actually found year-long outside of the battleground areas, but at Wintervale time, that's the time to make money. Now, during the Feast of Wintervale, the Copperpinch family and the Jingle Pocket family can be found in major cities, partaking in good old-fashioned associated commercialism with the holiday season. Here they can be found selling wrapping paper, toys, holiday beverages like Greatfather's Winter's Ale, seasonal cooking recipes, tailoring recipes, and of course, gaudy Wintervale sweaters like this one right here. They sell all sorts of stuff across the cities, so if you want to give someone a gift in Azeroth, go buy a wrapping paper from them, wrap it up, buy them a sweater, buy them some tailoring patterns, whatever you want. This is the time to spend money. Give your money to the goblins. Don't worry about the true meaning of Wintervale. Just go get some presents. Now, although the goblins of Smokeywood Pasture are primarily in it to make money, and make money they do, they sell food, they sell drink, of course, that's the whole point of the celebration. The price of chicken eggs goes up to astoundingly high rates, so everyone's in it to make money. Yeah, I'm looking at you, 1 egg per auction house page, gold farmer. They are, of course, here to take advantage of the whole original meaning of Wintervale, and that's the image of Greatfather Winter himself. Instead of being this sort of wholesome legend of good tidings and celebrations of renewal, and this sort of supernatural titan figure, Greatfather Winter has now become the harbinger of commercial exploit in major cities like Ironforge and Orgrimmar, often appearing either as a dwarf or as an orc. Greatfather Winter sits in a big old chair where children from that city or from that faction come, line up, sit on his lap, ask him what he wants. Presents are under the tree. It's all about presents, all about gift giving at this time of year. And of course, the lad's hungry. Bring Greatfather Winter his cookies and his milk, because that's, you know, what he wants. Now, of course, this orc and this dwarf are employees, or they work for Smokeywood Pastures, but maybe they are the true spirit of Greatfather Winter. I highly doubt it, because I found this fun little excerpt, a little story in comic form. It's actually from the Warcraft Legends Volume 3, and it's called I Got What You'll Need. Awful. It's written by Christy Golden, and it's this cute little story about a goblin looking for work in the seasonal time, and he gets hired by Smokeywood Pastures, and he arrives in Ironforge, and Greatfather Winter is drunk. He's drank too much, and he's passed out, and there's a line of children waiting to meet him, and they need a new Greatfather Winter, and so they have a costume all set, and so it's a goblin Greatfather Winter during this particular moment in the story. And I won't go into detail about the whole story, but in the end, the goblin, whose name is Chris, he ends up saving a gnome from some dark irons, and there's this plot to ruin ruin Wintervale. And it's a cute little story. You guys should definitely check it out if you have the Warcraft Legends 3 book. But at the end of the story, there's a brief little montage of different sort of Wintervale celebrations going across Azeroth. You can almost picture that if this was an animated story, this would be when the narrator is giving his closing thoughts. And on the very last page, you see this ghostly, ethereal dwarf who's likely the real Greatfather Winter, and he has this billowing cloak of snow, and this whole final montage he was sort of watching and observing people celebrate. And so it kind of leaves you with that idea that sure, the Smokeywood goblins are totally here to commercially exploit everything, but there is still the true meaning of Wintervale, the true spirit of Greatfather Winter wandering around the world of Azeroth, bringing his cold, miserable cloak of snow. I'm from Canada, so I'm allowed to say that. Now, one final little closing fact that I found on the Smokeywood Goblins that I thought was actually pretty interesting, and I didn't know this until recently, is that all the names of the Smokeywood Goblins across Azeroth selling these are actual references to real-world retail stores. For example, you have Besby Jingle Pocket, spelled B-E-S-S-B-I, Best Buy. You've got EB after EB Games. You've got Gucci after Gucci. Hot Topic after Hot Topic. Kmart for Kmart. What else we got? We got Nordstrom for Nordstrom. Morshells Copper Pinch for Marshalls. Old Navy for Old Navy. Target for Target. Walmart for obviously Walmart. And Walgren for Walgreens. There's many more. I thought that was kind of fun. That was kind of cute. I totally didn't notice that over the years. Maybe I'm the last horse across the finish line, but that was cool. That was fun. And that's all I got for Who is Greatfather Winter. I hope you guys enjoyed this fun little episode on the Feast of Wintervale and learning about the mythological or the commercial harbinger of Greatfather Winter. Whether he appears in dwarf form or orc form, he actually appears in High Mountain form as well. Up in High Mountain, he's actually sitting in a sled. And his sled is pulled by these two giant white moose, and he actually gives you, I think, like 500 order resources. His name is Greatfather Winter, and he wishes you happy Wintervale. And also, in the Hearthstone universe, there is a Greatfather Kobold. So it seems that there are many Greatfather Winters across the world, and likely a true Greatfather Winter out there. Maybe inspired by Hodir, maybe something else. I do like the idea that it's actually Hodir. Hodir is a very interesting aesthetic. I like the way he looks, and I kind of wish he got more lore. I kind of wish he had a little bit more story, especially in Chronicle. Like, we get a lot of Odin, Loken, Thorum, Tyr, not a lot of Hodir. And it'd be really cool if Hodir was sort of involved, I don't know, in the Dwarven history a little bit more. He's got the giant Dwarven beard. I mean, he's more, I guess, like Kultiris human-shaped. He's just giant, but he's not Titanforged dwarf giant in any kind of way. But he does have that kind of big, wholesome beard, the big, fluffy beard, and I can see him being, you know, aside from, like, the really metal and just badass-looking armor. It's definitely not the traditional Greatfather Winter gear, but it would have been cool to see a little bit more of a connection there, or just little vague references. We don't need an answer, but I like the sort of mystery that Hodir is the original Greatfather Winter. And we definitely should see more of Hodir. Maybe we'll do a episode, Who is Hodir, later on at a different time. But thank you guys for joining me for this special wintry seasonal edition of Lost Codex Legends. I hope you guys have been enjoying Lost Codex Legends, by the way. I started this back in September, and it was a sort of side project. The lore videos, for those of you who watch the Lost Codex, for our big animated lore videos, they have been taking a little bit longer than expected. We're hoping to rectify that in the new year. But in the meantime, especially with the podcast returning before the end of this year, the whole point of these videos was to provide extra content throughout the week. I know some people don't like these videos. Some people find them boring, and that's fine. Everyone's allowed to like their own content, especially since what I'm doing now, many other people have done, while the lore videos, no one really does those, the animated stuff. So, you know, by doing these Lost Codex Legends stuff, some people think that I may be trespassing on other people's territories, and not the intent at all. I'm just trying to provide some extra content out there, something that I like doing, I like talking, my team likes working on this. It's fun to put out, and it's what I call a little bit easier content, just to, you know, kind of relax into and to get into the flow of putting stuff out. We're still a growing channel, so if you do like the Lost Codex videos, the Lost Codex Legends videos rather, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, all that stuff, hit the notification bell, I don't know, whatever YouTubers have to say, I guess. And you guys, every single one of you, have a great Winter Veil, have a great Christmas season, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Winter Solstice, commercial exploit season. If you work in retail, my condolences if you work in retail. It's rough out there, and so whether you are shopping in retail or you're working in retail, just be good to one another. Be good. It's the end of the year. 2019's been a year, and 2020 is going to be better. So let's end this year with a nice, wholesome ending. You guys have a happy new year, and we will see you guys in the next video for Lost Codex Legends. Until next time, happy Winter Veil.